What will you be asking for? What would be realistic to sustain the tourism industry in the scale you guys would want?
About a threefold increase in the current capital allocation to tourism that we'll be looking for. But as Paul says, we will be prescriptive, and we'll be getting that report into the government in plenty of time for the strategic review of the capital plan.
50 million a year for 5 years to 350 million euros. Some of these projects won't be shovel ready, so some will have to take some time to mature. Planning will have to be achieved for a lot of them. But once that's done, we need multi-annual process. Currently we have an annual process for funding, which means if you have 109 million over 5 years, well, let's call that easy, 20 million every year. It closes at the end of the year, and then everyone's got to reapply for next year's. No product can be organised in that way. You couldn't build an office block in a year. There's no way. You might get planning for it this year. You might have your architect draw the plans. You might have a point in the construction. Then next year you go to build, and then of course there's fit out. So there's a lot of phases to construction, and we need to be careful that it's multi-annual and it's right-sized. But we will be more specific. We haven't got that list together, Eoghan, but I might have some personal views on what might be needed, but we haven't had a full engagement with the industry. But the sort of things that are missing is some infrastructure in the Midlands and Lakelands, that whole area of Ireland. Even Irish citizens, by the way, we tend to go east to west, and you go as far as Galway and go left, which takes you back to Corry. We don't tend to go right, which is up to Donegal, and we don't tend to stop in places like Athlone or the Midlands. So we need to develop new product offering that will anchor tourism in that area, and there's plenty of scope there. Interestingly, the biggest piece of private tourism infrastructure to open will be the new facilities in Longford, Centre Parks, when that comes on stream. So we would need things that will anchor the areas. I have views about old Victorian seaside resorts that have been sort of ignored and have become dilapidated. And you can think of loads of those. I mean, you have the Promenade in Galway, you have places like Youghal, Bray, and there's loads more where we need to renew those. And we're never saying, by the way, that tourism product should be for overseas markets. Whatever we build should be good enough for us, that we will use it, because we are the ultimate visitors, and we know what's best for us, so we should build it for ourselves. And if it's good enough and in the right place, it'll get used by everybody.
And there's big swathes of the country that don't have enough tourism product. And if you look at a map of Ireland and where the international visitors or even the domestic market go to experience Irish holidays, there's big gaps. So the Midlands really misses out, the Shannon Waterways misses out, the Northwest, north of Galway really misses out. And they're the sort of places that we'll be signalling require exciting, innovative products of scale that will appeal to the international market and will be there for some time. I mean, you only need to look at Belfast for an example. Belfast had very little overseas visitors, and the Titanic Belfast Centre completely revolutionised it as a city break. So it's those sort of products of scale and products of international appeal that will also serve the domestic market are the ones that we think should be where the public capital money should be allocated in the future.